All right, g'day. Thank you for downloading the Teacher Support Pack for the Higher Level Extensions in IB Psychology. And this unit is Technology and Cognition. This is for the cognitive approach. So in this unit, there are 3 topics. Remember that there are 10 hours allocated for this unit. So first we look at positive effects of technology on cognition, and then negative effects, and then the research methods. And this will cover all the possible exam questions. So in this first topic, we're going to look at 3 lessons, and these are the 3 lessons included in the free download preview. So the first one is computer games and working memory, then virtual reality and fear extinction, and finally Facebook and self-esteem. And I'll probably say this again and again. This one here I teach more for relevance and less for exam preparation. I wouldn't encourage students to write about this for the exams. So first of all, this first lesson, 8.3 AI, I think I called it computer games and working memory. So we're looking at how computer games can improve working memory and the research there. First of all, like in the beginning of any of my units, I like to start with key terms, traffic lights. This is in the workbook, and they use the color coding there to show what they know already. And then I like to, for the extensions, you may have already covered studies that have already gone over technology and cognition in some way. For example, if you've already taught the working memory model in using my textbook, you would have already covered the first study we're going to look at today, Klingberg's study on computer games and working memory. And so here's just a chance just to recap any studies that already look at technology and cognition. Okay, then because we're looking at working memory, I think it's really important that students understand what working memory is. It's a really important concept to know, and I think the best way to do that is to play some games. Now, these are copied straight from my other topic on working memory that's in the PTSD unit. So if you've already covered that, then this is just a duplicate, but I don't think there's any harm in doing it again. All right, and I think it's important for students to try to find an NBAC or a Spamboard task, because these are the tasks that are commonly used in the studies. So if they're going to explain about them, they should know how they work. So I like to give my students around about 10 minutes or so to play these working memory games. All right, then we get into think, pair, share. What is working memory? So they've just played the game. So can they figure out what it is, and can they think of examples, and can they try to come up with a definition of working memory? And then, so I give them this definition, and they can write this down in their books as well, in their workbooks beneath their first attempts at writing a definition. And then I give a couple of examples. And again, these are the same examples I do for the other working memory topic, where they're trying to, this year they're using their, their visual spatial memory, working memory, trying to figure out how to get to school, and then another one about calculating sums. Right, so really trying to get students to be introspective here and really be metacognitive, be thinking about their thinking. Right, their thinking, what we're thinking about in our conscious attention is working memory, and so that's what we're talking about here. Right, so first of all we figure out what is working memory, and then figuring out what we know about ADHD, because what we're looking at is how computer games can be used to treat ADHD, but the reason they're effective is they help improve working memory. So just I like to get students to talk about what they know about ADHD, and then just explain the general symptoms. What we're really looking at is not so much the hyperactivity and impulsivity, but the inattention. These are the symptoms here that I think are linked with working memory. All right, so why might they be linked? And now I want students to really try and get in the minds of someone who has ADHD and why they might find it difficult to stay focused. And right, so I've got a hint here, try and put themselves in their shoes. And one possible reason, what I'm trying to get students to think about, is things like, if you get loads of instructions and you have a poor working memory capacity, you can't keep all that information, that sequence of instructions in your conscious attention. So your mind may likely drift, or you forget what to do, and so then you're going to find other things and you're going to get off task. That there, I think, is probably the most straightforward explanation. Now we're going to look at a study, and I would give students, I like to give them the choice of how they want to learn about it. They can read about it in the book, we can watch the TED Talk, or I can chalk and talk and explain it. And you can even do a combination of all 3. You could, it could be a majority rules, or you might divvy up the class into thirds, and they do it accordingly. I've got the slides here to explain Klingberg's study, just in case you need to. And then we're looking at how computer games improve working memory. So there's space in the workbooks to write this. And I just encourage them to include some details about the brain, because that will really hit the how the computer games improve working memory. Klingberg's study shows that they can. And then if we link it to the function of the prefrontal cortex, then we can really explain how that might help. Okay, and then that is the first lesson in this topic done.